Hey girl.
Hi, can you hear me? My service kind of sucks, but
Yeah, I can hear you.
all right. And we're all sick, so it's fun.
Oh no. Oh my God. It's one of the kids got sick first, huh?
Yeah, Nova did. All right, so
Oh.
look at right here. This Mama Melissa girl, she says, remember when B&T wouldn't even let Carly ride in the same car with Caitlin and Tyler when changing locations? Yes, and to piggyback off of that, but I found out later that day that they let the son that they adopted ride with his bio mom in her car and go to a different location. Um, let's
Girl,
see. Do you remember?
stop.
Um, Also, I don't know why this girl keeps asking this question on your live. I've literally responded to her 50 million times. No, I did not send a blanket with just to Carly with just pictures of her sisters. Okay. I sent her a blanket, which I don't even know why this is anybody's fucking business, but since people want to spread false information, I sent her a blanket of pictures with Carly and her sisters. So pictures of all three of them together on a blanket.
Yeah.
Which why does that matter? I don't know why.
Because I remember you saying like that. I remember you guys saying on the show that Carly had called Nova her sister. And that seemed
Yeah.
like it was an issue for Brandon and Teresa.
Yeah, just from the last visit that we had. Like, she calls us her birth mom, Ty's her birth dad, but normally she just calls us like Kate and Ty.
Hmm.
And the very first time that Carly and Nova ever met, like Carly ran out of the car and she was like, "Oh, my sister, my sister." And so I just thought like they obviously had the conversation. Like Carly wouldn't be calling them or calling her sisters if that wasn't okay for their family.
Right.
Um, so for years, I mean, Nova's 10 now. We have never changed that. And then I guess the visit that we saw them like 2 years ago now, Teresa even said, like, I don't know if it's just a me thing, but the word sister is really bugging me. And I was like, yeah, that's a you thing. Like, I thought it was normal because it's always just how it's been and nobody's ever corrected anybody.
Well, and they're
Um,
kids, so what does it matter? Like,
yeah, I don't really know. Um, and I think people have it confused. Like, the whole people keep on saying like, oh, it was only supposed to be open for 5 years, yada yada yada. Well, Ray, I know that you can vouch for me too because I sent it all to you yesterday. That what I found for my case notes and everything, that is not what we agreed upon. We agreed upon a certain picture for 5 years, up to 5 years, but it also stated visits all the way up until she's 18 years old.
right.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. And I think what people think is that um like I have asked B&T millions of times. I have asked them like, "Hey, is this Carly wanting it? If it is, I understand. I would fully respect that." And all of you guys would not hear shit from me about it because I respect Carly. She's my birth daughter. I would respect that and know it's too hard. So believe me, I've asked and they just would ignore me and ignore me and ignore me and then finally blocked me. So it's like, come on now, seriously.
And this is what I was saying, from the beginning, it was always like this hush hush, stay quiet. You can't say anything. You have to stay quiet, right? And then we'll
Yeah.
have this, we'll keep this relationship going. And it seemed like throughout the entirety of the show, you were like, I don't give a shit about anything that's going on. I want to play cool so I could have a relationship with
Yeah.
Carly. And it seemed like it didn't matter what you did or how far you went to try to appease, because it was going to be up to her and her decisions alone anyway.
Yeah, so I think what happened is, and a lot of the times birth parents and adoptees feel very silenced by
Mhm.
adoptive parents because, for birth parents, it's like they hold all the power. They, can take them away at any time. And so, yeah, for many, many years, I always put myself in their shoes. I would not ask questions. I would not share my deep true feelings. And then obviously when I literally went online, I don't even know, like a year ago, and literally all I shared was my feelings. I
Mhm.
didn't call them out of their names. I didn't call them anything derogatory or anything. I just said like it hurts my feelings and it doesn't feel like love. That's when they blocked me and cut off contact just for me sharing my feelings. Um, and I think it's because I've gotten to a point where it's like I'm not going to be silenced anymore. Everybody always talks about the good and you made such a beautiful plan for your child and oh my gosh, yada yada yada. And it's like, yeah, but it's also hard. And it's also hard to feel like you're walking on eggshells and that your feelings aren't being reciprocated because they can take away one of your most precious things, and that's not fair.
Right.
Um, Also, I think it's funny that I see people constantly saying like a lot of the comments that I'm seeing is like you know, they broke boundaries, and I've written some people and I'm like, please tell me the boundaries. I would love to know what boundaries that they given me that I broke. The only boundary that they ever told me was not to read their text messages word for word. I could summarize them, but don't read them word for word.
Mhm.
That was the only boundary I've ever had. When
See,
it comes to posting pictures of her,
mhm.
um, years ago, the first time when like Nova and Carly met, so Nova was only like 9 months old. There was a picture of Carly with Nova, and it was Carly's back of her head. And I asked Brayna and Teresa, I said, hey, would you guys care if I shared this picture? Their response to me was like, hey, listen, as long as it's not giving away what she looks like and it's the back of her head, those pictures are fine to share.
Right.
Okay, so for years, that's all I've shared. You can look, it's always been pictures of the back of her head.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I was allowed to do that. I mean, you can go back and watch the conversation we had with Brandon and Teresa when Tyler posted like a video and it had all these different pictures of Carly. Yeah, we talked about that and when we had that meeting and we apologized and then we moved forward from that. So it's like, what boundaries? We're allowed to talk about our story on television, which happens to be adoption.
Mhm.
And we shared pictures that we are allowed to, that we had permission to share. Like, what boundaries are people fucking talking about? Because we're not their children and we have never disrespected or broke boundaries.
I think people are saying boundaries in the sense of because that they think that you were told not to talk about them at all.
It's not true. That
Okay.
is not true. I
Yeah.
mean, do people forget that it all started following my adoption journey? And an adoption journey is literally for life. Of
Right.
course, the show is hello. Like, of course, the show is going to show other sides of my life and other things that my kids are doing, but also it's also going to show my adoption journey too. Like, hello, do people forget where it all started from?
Right. And that was the point. And that is why I remember Tyler specifically saying, like this is why we're doing this. This is how this started to begin with was because we gave her up for or put her up for adoption. So why wouldn't we talk about it when this is why we started this to begin with?
Right, yeah. And I also see people who say, like, oh, well, oh, it's like a co-parenting situation, or what did you think they were babysitting for 18 years? And it's like, if every single person just took 5 minutes and educated yourself on adoptees and what they go through, you would learn that they are more mentally healthy, they feel more secure, they are emotionally healthier when they are involved with their biological families. It's proven 100 times over. So no, it's not like I'm wanting them to babysit my kid or co-parenting. Absolutely not. I want Carly to be the most well-rounded, stable, emotionally okay adoptee as possible, because adoption is trauma. And if her bio family being involved helps kind of not take away the traumas, but helps lessen them a bit, where she doesn't have as many questions as adoptees in closed adoption, then that's what I want for her. And that's why I go on and I talk to people or I post my feelings and stuff like that, because if it is only because B and T are scared of her getting older and it's not Carly that's not wanting this, she deserves to see that I never stopped. And
Right.
I have a big platform for her to see it, and that's what's important to me. Now, if they were to come to me and say, hey, no, Carly doesn't want contact, she doesn't want nothing to do with you guys, I would say, okay, we'll just let her know if she ever does, we're here, and that would be the end of it. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I don't know.
Well, I mean, I do believe that I 100% agree because there are people that are placed for adoption. There are kids that are just abandoned in general, right? And they
Yeah.
they feel that sense of like abandonment. And so I think it was great because I thought, well, she'll always know. She'll know that it's not that you guys abandoned her or that you
Right.
just, dropped her off and then went to go live another life to forget about her. And I think that a lot of people are so focused on like, leave her alone, instead of thinking about how this can impact her later. Now, do you feel or do you think that this is something like you guys reaching out or doing all of this? Do you guys feel or have you guys seen any studies that it could impact her in a negative way?
I mean, I haven't seen any studies or anything like that, but I feel like it also has turned more into um educating people more about adoptees' voices. It's turned into like a whole different side of things, honestly. Um, it's kind of turned into like educating people, advocating, bringing voices that aren't really that heard, and we can bring adoptees and stuff like that on our platforms and give them a platform to speak on and to share what they've gone through. And I think that's kind of where we have shifted.
Yeah.
Um, it's not Tyler's fault. How would it be Tyler's fault that we lost contact with Carly when they literally blocked me because I said it didn't feel like love? So you're uneducated in what you're talking about
So
because it
we
was me that shared my feelings,
so we
not
can't
him.
say the words, but it is because of the social platform of only, and that's all I can say. Um,
Oh,
and that is why people are stating that some people are stating that that is why it was
and you
Tyler's
know
fault.
what's funny is there is no link to that because our relationship was dwindling away slowly for years. It's been over a period of years. It wasn't just overnight. Like, I could feel things pulling away, or, I don't know if it was with her getting older and asking more questions, or,
Right.
that sort of thing, which of course I think would scare any adoptive parent. I totally understand like the fears and stuff that they could have too. But, Ty and I always said from the beginning, like, no matter whatever happened, like we would always have Brandon and Teresa's back, and we would always tell Carly, like, hey, they do this because they love you. Like if she were to ever come to us or and say anything,
Hmm.
like we would always have their backs. Like me and Ty say all the time, like those are the people that wiped away tears when you scraped your knee. Those are the people that took care of you when you were sick and made you to give you medicine, and like we would always have their back. I
Right.
think the only thing that we're just upset about, which naturally any birth parent would be, is to be cut off with no reason why, and with the knowledge of us knowing of like how much Carly does love us, and the questions that we are aware of that she was asking, it just doesn't make any sense
Do you think
unless it's coming from their fears.
do you think that if let's say T said, okay, you know what? It is because of me and it is because I want, I need to wait. I need to wait. I need her to myself. Like this is for me. What do you think that your response would be if she were just blatantly honest and said it is for my reasons and my reasons alone?
I would love for her to be blunt and honest with me because I feel like I'm a very open-minded person and I put myself in people's shoes all the time,
Mhm.
where we could have a private conversation about it. And, me being who I am, I would have to bring up the statistics to her and ask her, are these things that you know about adoptees, and why do you feel that way, and what threatens you? Is there something that I can change? Um, we would just have to have a conversation about it. Like,
Right.
no,
And
like, just go
that's the
ahead.
problem. Yeah, and that's the problem is that you guys aren't having a conversation about it because she's not communicating, which is the problem. That
No.
was the whole problem
Yeah.
initially.
Yeah, and I think it's funny. People are like, "Oh, you're stalking them," and it's like, okay, when am I showing up to their house? No. Am I posting pictures of them? No. Am I calling them derogatory names? No. Am I literally just speaking about how I'm hurt? And am I speaking about other adoptees and their situations that they tell me? Am I speaking about statistics of adoptees, about open adoption. Yes. So what? Like, there's no obligation for her to communicate. Well, I did, I don't know, maybe just literally give her a whole human being. I feel like I'm not owed it, but I think just a sense of like morals and values that a normal person would say, hey, this is what's going on. I don't know. And also, yes, they signed for an open adoption too. I
Right.
literally just got my whole file the other day. They knew what they agreed to, and I feel like part of them just signed it just so they could get what they want, sadly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was what I was saying earlier is that, it's not like you guys knew or wanted a closed adoption. You guys specifically chose open adoption because you wanted to be in Carly's life. I think a lot of people misunderstand, like you mentioned, right? There's so many people that are like, oh, well, you're just using them for babysitting, and that's not how that works. But that's not how, would you be able to explain what you saw as open adoption? Like what that looked like to you?
Open adoption looked like to me like, text messages, letters, and at least one face-to-face visit a year,
Mhm.
for 18 years. And that's what we both parties verbally agreed upon and signed upon. Um, so honestly, the only difference between like open adoption and closed adoption is face-to-face visits. Is face-to-face visits. That's the only difference. Um, And it's funny because people keep throwing this whole, it was just for the first 5 years.
Mhm.
No, you guys, that is wrong. That is wrong. The paper you guys are speaking about was Tyler wanted her in a specific location, a picture of her for the first 5 years because kids change so much in the first 5 years. And also, you have to realize too, when we were still pregnant with her, going through the adoption journey, we were kids and we were scared. We thought, I mean, at first I was like, I don't even want to see her after I have her. It might be too hard.
Yeah.
I don't want a couple that lives in Michigan because it might be too hard. I don't want to see her. When she was born and I held her in my arms, that completely changed. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, no, I want to hold her. Oh my gosh, no, I want to be able to see her as she grows and not have any what ifs about what does she look like? What is she doing in life? What are her favorite colors? Like, and guess what? In adoption, you're allowed to do that. Dawn always said we can get out the big eraser and we can change what you want your openness to look like at any time.
Mhm.
And for us that happened when she was born, and we switched it to nope, now we want an open adoption. We want face-to-face visits for 18 years. We want to be able to send letters and pictures and updates and get letters and pictures and updates too. So I think it's funny that like people talk about that letter that Dawn gave us in the restaurant, but that was the one that we filled out when we were still pregnant, and also we changed it in the hospital.
So why did she give you guys that form if you guys changed it? Why didn't she say like, okay,
I asked her that yesterday, and she said it's because all files are held off at like off of location, because if you think about it, they would be overflowing with paperwork,
Mhm.
and she didn't have it at that time. But part of me believes too that I think T almost wanted to be like, well, see, this is what you originally wanted, and it was like, yeah, but we changed it, and you guys agreed to the changes.
Right. And you said that you now have, because a lot of people are over here saying like, okay, well, you're just like believing everything, right? But you did say, Caitlin has already stated she got the paperwork. She did. She got the
Yeah,
paperwork. I can
yeah.
vouch that she got the paperwork. She did get
I
it.
got my whole file finally. Like I asked for it. I got my whole file. It shows everything that I signed, everything.
Mhm. And some people
Yes.
were saying that, I guess they were confused as to why you just got the paperwork. I saw some comments about that.
Um, I don't know. I feel like I felt like for myself, I didn't really need it,
Hmm.
for a long time until everything started happening and I started getting more educated about just an adoption myself. And I was like, wait a minute, like I want to see like what did I sign as a kid? What did I sign when I had no legal representation? Like because I don't remember, you know?
Right.
And also I feel like I blocked a lot of stuff out too, but so I was like I want to see what did I even sign? What did it say? Because I didn't have any adult going over anything with me, literally. It was just like verbal word for word, and I was like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Right.
believing all these adults around me. And so I want to have it. I want to keep it. I want it for myself. I want it so that way one day, if Carly ever comes, I can show her things. We can talk about things.
Mhm.
Yeah. And plus it's mine. So now I'm like, well, now I want it.
No, yeah, I 100% hear you. Yeah, I could posted right what Tyler had put out on Instagram, and it was just like so many comments back to back to back asking about like, well, why is it that they just got this paperwork, or uh why, what was one of the questions? It was like why now? It was just basically like a why now type of situation, I guess. But I mean,
Well, because we just wanted it now. Like I said, I feel like we never really needed to have it before because it was always open. And then it just as questions started happening and coming to us and stuff, and realizing like, oh my gosh, like we really were by ourselves and we didn't really have any representation or anything. Then it just was like, what the hell did we sign? I want it all. I want to see everything.
you guys had no representation. It was only the adoptive, or it was the like the case workers, right? They were the only ones that had legal representation for the documents to make sure that you guys legally signed them accordingly.
Yeah, like I think obviously, like agencies have their own layers that write up paperwork and contracts and all that stuff. But I want to see things change for birth parents as far as like, if I would have had a stable adult in my life on my side, like I wouldn't let my child sign anything right now without me reading it.
Right. I
And
do have a question. I'm sorry to cut you off. I do have a question though, because I know that Tyler's mom, I know that she was kind of like in and out. They didn't really show like too much of an interaction with her during this process. Did she read any of the documents before you guys signed it at all, or?
and I love Kim. Like honestly, if you look back to that period in our lives, like she was our only safe person. I mean,
Right.
that woman saved me so many times. I
Mhm.
could call her at 3 in the morning, bawling my eyes out, and she would come get me. I mean, that lady came and got me from like the bad, bad parts of Detroit at all times of night where I was like, I can't be here anymore, like literally. And so I don't hold anything against her. I think she was seeing two young kids and being like, oh my gosh, they're not ready to parent. Like, what are they going to do?
Right.
And we've had the conversation more recently and stuff, and even she has been like, she has gotten like really tearful with Tyler, and she's apologized. She's like, and I think she holds some of that stuff against her, where she's like, why didn't I read into it? Why didn't I think to get somebody to read stuff? Why? Like, she's apologized so many times, and we're like, hey, listen, we're all learning now.
Right.
And we all didn't know any better because we didn't know any better. But
Yeah.
now we do.
I
And that's
think
why that's why
she.
we preach so much now. Like my big thing is like, if you're even thinking about placing a child for adoption, get your own lawyer separate from any agency, anything. Get your own get somebody to help you read things, or have, even if it's just a solid adult, maybe not even if your family, if you don't have support or whatever, but just somebody to help you understand what you're signing and what it means.
Right. No, I agree for sure. Because I was thinking to myself, like, man, if
Um,
we were to get an adult, or if we trust like a teacher even, or like just any
yes,
adult that you could just trust to help you
somebody.
understand. Yeah.
I mean, shoot, even a police officer. If you have nobody, I'm pretty sure, there's some nice guys out there that'd be like, sure, honey, I'll help you. You know what I mean? At least I
Mhm.
know in my small town there are. Somebody said, like, hey, I feel as how can the adoption even be legal if your mom didn't even sign it? Well, what happened is, I guess there's a loophole through the court system, and then they got me somebody which is considered like a guardian ad litem. So they basically become like my guardian for like a certain amount of hours, and they can sign the paperwork. Like it's almost like I get oh my God, what's that word called? What's the word called? Where um
Like emancipated, like temporarily
Yes,
emancipated.
yes, yes. So you basically get like emancipated for like so many hours, and this person can be like your guardian, and they'll sign everything for you. But even with that, it's just like, so I mean, it made it legal that way. And honestly, I mean, I did stand in front of a judge, and at that time I was like, yes, I'm making this decision for my child because it's what I feel like is the best thing for her. And So of course the judge is going to believe me, and at that time in my life, I was like, absolutely, I'm making the best decision and yada, yada, yada. I think at the end of the day, it's just sad of where it's gotten because the most important person is Carly. And if she's wanting communication and they're blocking us out and she doesn't know about it or she doesn't know why, then that's not fair to her. And that's not fair to her siblings or like, screw me. I don't really care, but it's what is best for her. At the end of the day, that's important to me.
Right. I saw I saw a comment that said, you how do you even know that Carly likes to be called Carly? And
Oh, believe me, I know. Hello, do people not realize like we've had a relationship with her for 15 years? Like, hello, what do you think? We just get to visits and just stare at each other?
Yeah, and so somebody said, like, how do you even know that she likes to be called Carly? Like, they don't even know her well enough. What if that's not what she wants to be called? And I thought, I'm pretty sure Carly would have said, like, hey, call me Carolyn or whatever. But
yeah, we even asked her at the last visit. No, she likes to be called Carly. It just comes from a lot of people making assumptions and not really understanding the full truth, and us not putting out the full truth because in some legal aspects we can't.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And until we can figure out a way that we legally can,
right?
Then that's why I don't really read anything or anything.
And that is why you guys are having your podcast coming out so that you guys can give your guys' tell-all, give your guys' story, right? Without any edits, without any cuts. It's all full story. You and Tyler.
Yeah, and I think like we're not going to have it just revolve around adoption, but I mean, we are going to have adoptees come and speak and share what they're comfortable with, and it's going to be very, very broad. It's going to be about all different walks of life. And obviously Carly is a part of it too, but not even Carly herself, like speaking about Carly on the podcast. It would be more just about like the adoption.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you guys, I mean, because I'm sure this is so difficult, right? Like, I know Nova was the one that was closest to Carly because of age. What about your other daughters? Have they?
I feel like Beto was just starting to get to the age of understanding that Carly's her sister, but not like fully grasping the concept. Mm-hmm. Nova for sure knows. She's old enough, she understands. Nova doesn't really know that contact has been cut off because I'm not the type of person where I'm just going to be like, hey kid, they cut us off. You know what I mean? Like, what right parent would do that? Not any good parent. But obviously when the conversation comes up, we'll have to have that with her.
Yeah.
And so, but the other kids are too young, I think, to really understand.
Somebody said, stop pimping out your husband.
I will pimp him out till the day I die. So, no, I'm just kidding.
It's so funny because my wife was like, okay, Tyler. She was like, he got cute. I was like, listen, like, I am so thankful, right, that you had decided to come on to have these discussions. I think these are discussions that are so important to have. I think it's so important for people to be educated because they only see one side, or they only go on Reddit and then come up with their own conspiracy theories of why things are happening, right? And so I'm just
And I think what the most important thing is if everybody could take literally just 3 minutes out of their day and educate yourself about adoptees and how beneficial it is to have an open adoption, it'll open your mind to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Just educate yourself about adoptees and what they go through.
Yeah.
It helps them feel whole as a person. That should be what's most important.
And I don't think, like, there's some people that say that they've gone through it and, like, that's good for you. But I also believe that it's not everybody's story is the same. Everybody's story.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so they try to,
you'll never find any story that is the same. They're all completely different.
Yeah, and I think that that's the problem a lot as well, is a lot of people are like, well, my story isn't this way, and so your story shouldn't be this way. And that's
Right,
not
they're,
the
they're all
case.
they're all different. And I just saw one of my friends is in your live, and she said follow adult adoptees. Do it. They spread such great facts, awareness. They, try to educate people who maybe aren't involved in adoption. And also, too, my other thing is like if you're not involved in any way, shape, or form of adoption, then maybe hold your opinion in, because if you're not involved, directly involved, you will never understand.
Right, right. Well, I thank you for coming on. I'm glad because I think it's so important for people to hear your perspective, and some people in these comments, girl.
You know what? I don't ever read the ones. I'm just like, people are at the end of the day gonna believe what they want to believe, but I know my truth. I know what we verbally agreed upon. I know what was signed, and that's all that matters to me. Now it's kind of switched to where I want to give adoptees a voice.
Yeah.
I want to have them share their stories and speak about what they would have wanted or what they would have wanted different or how the adoption system can be different. Like that's what's kind of important to me now, is to change the conversation and the narrative and show like, yeah, okay, there's good sides to adoption, but there's also really hard sides. I mean, that's even like anything as far as just like even like parenting. Of course, parenting is lovely and you love your kids and it's beautiful, but also, not a lot of people talk about how you're up at 3, 6, 8, sleep deprived, can't shower for 3 days. There's always a dark side with a good side. And it's important that the world knows both sides of adoption, period. Because it's not all beautiful and it's not all bad, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to change.
You know, I something popped up for me. If do you think so based off of what you know now, right? And clearly we know it's clear as day what Brandon and Teresa originally wanted out of this, right?
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but do you think that there's or that there should be certain laws that can protect the bio parents in these cases? Like, should there like do you think or do you think in
I think
advocating that this could happen?
I think so, but I think, just like we've said before about how every single adoption is different, I think there needs to be different protections for every situation. Like, I can understand if, somebody is not safe for your child to be around, but at the end of the day, the adoptee still should know who they are. If they have siblings, they should be able to have genetic mirroring and have pictures or even speak to the safe people that are in their life, whether it be like grandmas or aunts or uncles. Like, I think it would have to be, special for each situation, since every adoption is different and special in its own little ways.
Right, right. And people have to remember if this what I'm talking about, it's not just protecting the bio parents. It is protecting the child because at the end of
Yes,
the day, a lot of people don't understand the damage, right? We don't know. We're not Brandon and Teresa. We're not in their home. We don't know what's being said, right? So in this case, for all we know, Carly's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they could be telling a completely different story. We don't know. Instead of just saying, hey, these are the rules. This is what we have to stick to because this is what was promised and this is what we agreed to.
well, right, and I think there could be clauses in it, like obviously if birth mom starts smoking crack, and I don't know, like there could be like
Right.
different clauses and stuff like that to
Yeah.
keep people safe, but I do think there needs to be change for sure.
Yeah.
And there needs to be protection, most importantly for the adoptive child and for their own mental well-being.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
all right, well, I should
Well,
probably hop off of here. Thank you for having me on,
of
and thanks for
course.
trying to spread facts and not being
Yeah.
like some of those other creators who just like pull facts out of thin air. And I'm like, where the hell did you get that from? Like, it makes no sense. But
Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And I'm so excited for your podcast to come out so I can listen to that and hear other people's stories and get more educated. I think that's so important. So thank you so much for coming on.
yeah, thank you, Ray. I appreciate it.
All right, girl. Talk to you later.
All right, bye. You'll have to kick me off.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, you guys heard it from Kate, okay? It's not me. I'm not just talking out of my behind. All right. This is from Catelynn herself, because apparently a lot of people don't understand that part. For those of you guys that don't know, Catelynn and Tyler are going to have a podcast coming out. It is called Kate and Ty Break It Down. It could be on any of the podcasts that you guys find. So that way you guys are able to go on there. If you guys missed the live, if you guys just came on, you guys missed it, I'll be sure that I put it on my YouTube. I think moving forward, all of my my lives I'm going to post onto my YouTube, because it sucks. It sucks for people that are missing stuff like this. I think it's so important to share. And I think it's so important for Kate's voice to be heard. If you guys heard, like, yeah, what we saw on TV was Dawn handing Catelynn and Tyler the documents, but those were old documents. Those documents were not up-to-date documents that were given, right? And so now they have in hand everything that they went over. Again, the podcast is called Kate and Ty Break It Down. Can you recap? I just got here. So again, for those of you guys that just got here, I'm going to be posting this live on my YouTube. Whose fault is that? It's the adults' fault. It's the adults. And for people that don't get it, well, it sounds like you don't get a lot of things in this world. I mean, and that's what they said. And I think a lot of people don't understand that either, is that they are going to pause. They are going to do that. That's why Tyler put this out on social media, that they were going to follow, what Dawn stated in regards to putting a pause. And it's so crazy how people are like, let it go, let it go, let it go. Even after he posted it, it was like, well, yeah, that's what I'm announcing, is that we are putting a pause. They're not going to let it go completely. They're not going to let it go completely, but they are going to put it on a pause in regards to reaching out, and in hopes that they will hear back from Brennan and Teresa, or they will hear back from Carly in regards to that. So all they could do is just kind of wait at this point and keep advocating, for parents that are bio parents that are placing their child up for adoption, for open adoption. As you guys heard from Catelynn, they were supposed to have 18 years. Yes, Catelynn confided in me with this information. So no, I wasn't going to go spreading it out to the world, right? This is her story to share when she's ready to share it. So she said that they had agreed 18 years. Carly's 15 right now. They agreed for 18 years that they were going to have this open adoption. Not 5. They agreed to 18. So I think that a lot of people need to, listen and really listen. Okay, really listen, really see the full picture. But thank you guys all for joining me. Thank you guys all for just being here and being able to hear me out, hear Catelynn out. I think that that's so important. And I think it's so important for others to be heard and their stories to be heard. Not everybody's story is going to be the same. Not everybody has the same experience. I'm so sorry for those that don't have, bio parents that wanted to fight for them. And if you didn't want that, then that's, good for you. I'm glad that you were able to grow up and know exactly what it is that you want in your life. But again, your story is not the same as everybody else's. So with that, I'm going to close this out. Okay, get back to the life that I actually do have, trust me. And I hope that you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Love all of you guys. Thank you guys so much. And again, if you guys missed it, make sure you guys follow my YouTube. The link is in my bio. I will be posting the entire live on there. So love all of you guys. Bye, stay safe.